welcome to BKAT Television's The American Street. My name is Rick Cortes, and in this series, we're going to embark on a cinematic journey here in Kitsap County, visiting with people who work hard every day in their lives and dedicated to making a difference in our community. Today, we will visit with Washington State Ferries in above and below decks on the ferry system. Here we'll take a look at some people's lives who every day are making a difference and allowing for commuter traffic, visitors, and commercial traffic to make its way safe and sound across the Puget Sound. So join me on the American Street. Washington State Ferry just celebrated on June 1st their 70th birthday. A lot of folks don't realize that, but it's an incredible system. It is the largest in the United States, second largest in the world. 23 million customers in the past decades, which includes 10 million vehicles in commercial traffic. 21 auto passenger ferries on 10 different routes going across the beautiful Puget Sound. Over 2,000 employees, and 2 of those employees are here with us today. One's above deck and one's below deck, hence the title of our program today. So let us meet our illustrious guest today, and this will be through a series of conversations. You're going to get to see some really cool stuff about what they do and experiences they go through to get to this wonderful journey on the Washington State Ferries. So, without further ado, let me introduce our guests. We have Erik Haynes, below deck engineer, and to his right, Erik Hohl. He's the engineer up top. And they both have an incredible narrative to share with us. So, let us begin with Erik Haynes, if I may. And let's take a look at the journey that brought you to Washington State Ferries.
I started with the ferries in 1997, and my journey there, I got to work in Sea Scouts when I was a kid, and then I went to the California Maritime Academy and graduated in 1994. But did a little fishing and worked on some tankers before I got to the ferries. It's been a good job, been there for 24 years now, working in the engine room where oftentimes a lot of people don't see what we're doing, where we're at. And so it's been a good career.
When I got out of school, I started on tugboats in San Francisco Bay as an engineer, and then I worked on tankers as a mate for a while. Then I went fishing up in Alaska for 10 years. And then in 1999, I decided it was time to stay home and come home every night, so I stood in line with 600 other people down in the Union Hall in San Francisco, or in Seattle, and that's when I started working for the ferries, and started as an OS and worked my way on up from OS to AB to mate and finally master, even though when I came in I had unlimited master, but you still have to start at the bottom and work your way up.
At the ferries.
At the ferries.
Yep.
So it's all seniority based to work your way up.
Could you fellows, for our BKAT audience, kind of share a little bit about what is OS and AB?
You normally work up in the cabin, loading passengers in the cabin and cleaning and mopping, stuff like that. And then from there, after a certain amount of sea time, you go and test and become an AB, which is an able-bodied seaman. And at that stage, then you're working on the car deck, loading the cars, you're doing the lookouts up in the pilot house, and you're steering the boat for either the mate or the master. And then after a couple years of working as an able-bodied seaman, you can sit for a mate So what Washington State Ferries uses is a unlimited mate inland, and you take a test through the Coast Guard for all that, and then after a couple of years, then you can sit for your master's license. So if you were to come in and start from the bottom and work your way up, it's going to take you roughly about 10 years to get up there.
Erik Haynes, what were the challenges you had in terms of the training and some of the interesting stories in those challenges?
Yeah, well, you come to the job and you have the documentation like he was talking about. And initially when I got there, there was really no orientation period that they do now to get people used to the boats. So I didn't have a lot of experience on the locomotive style engines that we worked on, but thankfully I worked with some good engineers that trained me on the job kind of thing. And you learn how to do oil changes, rebuild water pumps, you work on electrical circuits one night. So the job I like is very diverse. It's not necessarily the same thing every day, but when you're on a running watch, a boat that's running, you're not doing a lot of this maintenance. You don't want to inhibit the boat or take it out of service. So we do all our maintenance at night when we tie up. Other than that, we would like maybe put a soft patch on something to keep the engines or keep the equipment going as best we can, unless it's something that ties the boat up unexpectedly, and sometimes that happens.
And a soft patch is what?
Soft patch, like I'm thinking like on a seawater line system, if it springs a little bit of a leak,
Yeah.
you get hose clamps out and some rubber material, you put a soft patch on there, and that gets you by till the end of the day so that you can keep running, and then at night you can change out that section of pipe or something like that.
What kind of challenges did you find as far as the training on your career path that you find along the way that were sometimes you go, wow, what did I get into?
Yeah, it's, as far as the training part, not for me, but our challenges that we have mostly is in the Puget Sound when you're navigating, and it's the smaller boats. You don't know what their intentions are. So you're constantly on the lookout of what they're going to be doing, and you don't always know. So the larger ships in the Puget Sound, they're in the traffic lanes, and you pretty much know what they're going to do. It's the smaller ones that find it. And yeah, and we deal a lot with the public, so that's a little challenging sometimes when you have a few challenging public
And
passengers.
what would be a funny story when you're dealing with the public? I know you had a few in your bucket.
It's not really funny, but I mean,
interesting.
everything
It's
happens to you. I had
Yeah.
knives pulled on me and stuff like that, but
You can laugh about
yeah.
it now.
Yeah.
Laugh about it now, but
Since you didn't
at
die.
the time, you just never know each day
Yeah.
what you're going to run into.
But everybody
So-
came out safe at the end, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So for our audience, again, if we can just take a second, starting with Erik Hohl. Erik, so your precise position is called what, and where do you actually work at?
Captain or master.
And the area that you found mostly.
I'm up in the pilot house.
in the pilot house
Yeah.
physically.
Yeah, I'm ultimately in charge. So,
driving the
and I
boat.
work alongside with the chief engineer.
And you get a chance to move around a lot physically, or is that pretty much where you're at?
My job, I do 3 days in Bremerton and 1 day in Kingston.
One day in Kingston.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I work Friday nights in Kingston, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in Bremerton.
And your position, the physical work area you're found mostly at, Erik?
Found down in the engine room is called the EOS, or Engineers
Right.
Operating Station. And so down there on my boat, we have also an EOT, an engine order telegraph, kind of like in the old movies.
Right.
He gives commands of speed, changes he would like to have, and then we give those. We operate the throttles, and we basically control the engine speeds and how much power we're putting into the water.
So that you have actually an incredible communication system to make everything work, right?
Yeah,
And people don't realize when they hop on a ferry boat, right? They go into a Seahawk game or go downtown Seattle, go into work. They don't understand of all the moving parts that takes place on the ferry, right?
Right.
Yep.
I mean, everybody, the full stat, full complement, which is average of what, 12 to 15 employees on a run
Yep.
for the average ferry, right?
Right.
So everybody's got an intrinsic role of staying in their job and doing their job, right?
Right.
To make it all work. And I think a lot of folks sometimes realize that for a ferry to stay on schedule, there's a lot of things that have to happen. And you fellows are a big part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, see, we have a lot of redundant ways to communicate with the engine room.
Right.
So we have the EOT on his boat, and then we also have the bogan, which is voice
Intercom.
intercom between the engine room and the pilot houses, And then we also have emergency bells that we could do. So we have
sound-powered phones too.
Yeah, so we have lots of ways we could actually communicate, and if one fails,
Right.
there's always backups. So
Yep.
So how has COVID affected your fellow's job during COVID? What, operationally speaking, what was modified, changed, and was a little bit of a situation to deal with?
Well, obviously, COVID slowed down everything, and so in some cases we rolled all the way down. Some boats were, there was one boat operation on Bremerton, I think Bainbridge, I think Kingston only ran one boat on the weekends. So they really throttled back the boats that were running. We had also personnel being able to make it to work. Some people was out sick, decided to stay home. If they were older, a lot of older people decided to work for the ferries. They took that time to stay away from work because they were afraid of COVID. So, so we had crewing issues, and if we don't have the right complement of crew, we can't sail. You know, that's a Coast Guard requirement. So,
right.
but other than that, I mean, we've tried just doing our maintenance, and I took that opportunity to get some work done that was needed to get done when our boat was down. So,
All right, the alarm clock goes off early in the morning, Erik Hohl, you know, and it's off to work. Describe what your day is like in terms of getting up and getting ready and going to work.
because I work evenings there, so I normally get up at 11 o'clock or so. But yeah, it's spend a little time with my wife and our dog at home, and just wake up, have a cup of coffee. I drink a big glass of water first before any coffee. But yeah, we sit out on our back deck, just enjoy the beautiful view that we have at our house and out in Seabeck, and you know, then it's basically preparing to get ready for work, pack your lunch, because we do 10-hour days on my shift. The engineers, they do 12s. So you're gone for quite a while, while. And right now we don't have galleys on the boats. So it's packing on up, just getting ready for work, basically. You know, the work days consume your whole day. And then it's off to work. I leave the house around 3 o'clock or so for a 4 o'clock shift, and get to work, and you relieve the off-going crew, find out what's going on with the vessel.
Right.
And make sure you have everybody there and put everybody in the right positions that they're supposed to be in, and off you go.
The alarm clock goes off in the Haynes house. What happened?
well, so my schedule is a little different from his. I don't actually set the schedule most of the time. Whatever boat we relieve, I just assume the schedule that they were on. And in some cases, I'm getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it doesn't feel like morning time when you're getting up that early. It's the late shows are still on TV and such, but yeah, you head to work. You put in your 12 hours, and or sometimes on day watches it's even longer, and then you come home, and there's not really a lot of room for much else on my work week. And then you get a week off, and then I'm working nights. So my schedule, that rotating, they call it shift work, and it rhymes with something else that it's not good. It's basically not really good on the body. It's one of the things, one of the drawbacks to the job. Other than that, I mean, I love everything about the job. I love what I'm doing. It's very interesting, and it's kind of like being able to solve a puzzle every day on the things you get to work on.
Here, our audience here in Kitsap County is always wondering, the role that our transportation systems play in preserving the beautiful environment that we have here in the Sound. So, from your perspective, either one can take this. What does Washington State Ferries do to try to help preserve our, our environment, our natural environment here in Kitsap?
Well, there's stiff regulations by the Coast Guard and the EPA that we adhere to. We're not allowed to, pump anything over the side of the boat, or even wash off the decks in some cases. But yeah, if there's any sort of issues going on with the boat, we would take it out of service or remedy the problem immediately. That happened once with a boat that they just put in the water, and they found they had seal leaks at the stern tubes, and then they had to get it. They just took it out of service immediately and then put it back into dry dock. So those kind of things happen, and we take care of them right away.
Part of that process is to make sure that the boats are not leaving a footprint
Yes.
that's detrimental to our the natural beauty, and that's something that I think a lot of folks would probably say, we appreciate that very much. So how do you balance your job demands with life at home?
Not always easy. One thing nice is that I do get nice vacations once in a while, and even though I don't get work the traditional Monday through Friday with weekends off, when I'm off, I get quite a bit of time with the family when I'm not on my work week. And so it can have some drawbacks, some scheduling conflicts from time to time with the family and the kids. But I think that all in all, I get a good amount of time off with them. And so that's nice. We could go on nice vacations once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I came here is because I wanted to come home every night, you know, and even if you're working 12 hours, you still get to go home at the end of the day.
Yep.
You know, I'm lucky all our kids are grown and out of the house, and we have grandkids now, so it's a little bit easier to, you know, deal with that as far as when you want to see them and spend time with them or whatnot.
If you were hypothetically asked to come to speak before some students at a local elementary school, middle school, or high school, and kids are interested in wanting to work for the Washington State Ferries in your capacity, what would you tell them? What would you say, hey, this is what you should do in terms of preparation, and this is how you do it?
So there's, I was in the Sea Scouts. It's like the kind of the Cub Scouts. There was a local division. I sailed off the Odyssey out of Tacoma. I think there's some Sea Scout boats here in Bremerton too. And so local troops, you can get involved in that, and that could be your first step. There's a new high school. Ballard High School is opening up a maritime out division, I guess, in Ballard High this upcoming fall. So there's different ways to get your foot in the door to work on boats and to be around boats. And those are some good options right there. They could give you a start. And there's, if you want to go further, you go to a maritime academy. There's a Seattle Maritime Academy is a 9-month academy. The California Maritime is a 4-year school. You get a college diploma and a Coast Guard license. And the Maritime Academy in Seattle is for introductory type of positions, which pretty much that's all you're going to get at the ferries when you first get it, no matter what you have, whatever documents you have. Your only foot in the door is to take introductory positions, really. It's pretty locked up.
Yeah. And I concentrate on a lot of math and science also.
My understanding is that the Washington State Ferries, under Washington State Department of Transportation, are looking at some new construction of facilities that's going to help be able to get boats back running quicker and running better. What's in store for the future for WSF that's going to make, you know, our commuter traffic or our passenger traffic, you know, going for fun to Seattle, feeling good, like, yeah, this is really cool, that the future looks bright.
Yeah.
What do you know, Erik, that you can share with us?
I don't know. I'm not in that particular the vessel design kind of thing, but their plans of making hybrid style vessels that will be much more fuel efficient, and they will also be capable of probably less emissions, so better for the environment. They're currently right now fixing up the Coleman dock. It's going through a renovation, and it's looking pretty good. They have an area for PO boats, and they've changed the whole structure there because of its, it was, I don't think it was earthquake proof. I don't know the exact reasons why, but they're getting it fixed up there. Yep. Other places they're doing stuff too. I don't know, do you know?
No.
They fixed up the Bremerton dock about 10 years ago, something like that.
They got muck done, and Bainbridge, I think they're working on that.
Oh, Bainbridge has some issues. So they're continuing work all the time on different boats, upgrading equipment and trying to make sure that it's reliable.
And there's some new terminals under construction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also the vessels, we're the only ones in the Puget Sound that are running the biodiesel.
Yeah.
So we use, 10% biodiesel?
10% biodiesel, which, yeah, that's something that they're doing for the environment, but yeah, it's one of those things that's not totally proven with old technology. We have basically older engines, diesel engines, locomotive engines, like I was mentioning. And the bigger engines seem to handle it fine. Some of the smaller engines were having trouble with some of the bio, but it's all in all, it's okay. We've tried it before and we had issues also, but sometimes these old diesel engines just like diesel.
Here we are, American Street. We're back on this wonderful experience, talking to Erik Hohl and Erik Haynes of the Washington State Ferries. And we're at Bachman Park and looking out on the water and welcoming the Chimacum ferry boat. Fellows, take it from here and talk to us about it.
All right. Well, Chimacum is one of our newest class of vessel, Olympic class vessel. It's got 2 EMD engines in it, and what are some of the specs of cars?
Well, it carries about 144 cars, and we can carry 1,600 passengers on there.
Yep.
So,
yeah, she's a good boat. They're now going to take this class of ferry when they're doing the upgrade to the new hybrid style. They're going to use different engines. I think they're going with GEs. I'm not 100% sure, but they're going to be using different engines and making it like a diesel electric, and should have some better efficiencies. Probably better for the environment. Certainly less fuel consumption. And so it's going to be basically this style of boat with a new power plant, and should hopefully prove to be good.
and this is one of 2 vessels. Chimacum and the Suquamish are the only ones that have integrated bridges. So what that basically means is everything's interchangeable between the pilot houses.
Oh.
So if you have a radar go down in one pilot house, you could actually get the image from the other pilot house and transfer it to the pilot house that's navigating.
Oh, nice.
So everything's interconnected now,
Yeah.
which we never had before. It was, you had 2 radars and that was it.
Nice. That's a good setup.
Is there what somebody you might consider a sister ship to a sister vessel to the Chimacum?
Yes,
Yeah.
the Tokate,
Suquamish.
Samish,
And the Chimacum.
and the Suquamish is kind of in a class by itself because as far as a boat in his category, it's the same kind of operating characteristics. Engineering-wise, it's kind of in a class by itself.
They were trying to get them to name them as mountaintops of the Olympics,
Oh,
but they
cool.
didn't go with that. They wanted to stay with the tribes. So
Stay with the tribes, yep.
Part of the American Street is walking down the street to take a look at some wonderful culinary delights. And again, I want to thank Mandelis on Kitsap Way in West Bremerton for providing today's culinary sample. After a long day in front of the camera. So Erik Haynes today is going to try out what looks like a chicken enchilada. And so, Erik, what do you think?
Yeah, very good.
You think the folks in American Street should take a walk down there and
Definitely.
and I'm telling you, I've been there. I had yesterday I had a ribeye tacos. First time I had ribeyes on a taco. Outstanding. Muy sabroso in español. So you get a chance, Erik likes it. I know Erik will like it. He get his own box to go home with. and come down to Mandelis Mexican Grill on Kitsap Way in Bremerton. Thank you, Alejandro, and thank you, Mandelis. Folks, I just wanted to let you know that we just had a wonderful conversation. We touched upon a lot of topics here. This could have been easily an hour show. But, you know, I walked down the American Street. We got this opportunity through a conversation with Erik Hohl and Erik Haynes to take a look at some of the neat things that go on behind the scenes that sometimes you don't read about in a newspaper or on digital platforms or through hearsay or just talking to a neighbor. Sometimes you just don't know these things until you run into wonderful folks like Erik Haynes and Erik Hohl. And so first of all, on behalf of BKAT Television, I want to thank Erik and Erik for coming here today and sharing a wonderful narrative about what they do and how they do it. And that way we here in Kitsap County can really appreciate, a greater sense of appreciation, I should say, for the job that they do and keeping the second largest ferry system in the world and the largest in the United States up and running and providing a wonderful service. So on behalf of myself, Rick Cortes, John Rocca, BKAT Television, I want to say thank you so much for our visit with Above and Below Deck, the Washington State Ferries.
Smoke clears the room, joining early mists outside. Cinders tapped in ashtrays glow like the clouds with sun below. as the cigarettes fizzle, so does the party mood. Quickly packs were empty, but my heart was filled in this smoky paradise. This can't be real life. Well, I can't see very clear. Is this hazy vision real? Les souvenirs de la soirée, gardés dans les cendriers, avec mes vrais amis, on a trouvé paradis. Might think we would be lonely deep in this rolling country. Laughs and lighters brighten rooms, only running out of one. Drinks and glances, hearts ignite with memories